Welcome to the channel CoinWorth Lab, and before you toss another penny into that jar or hand it over as spare change at the coffee shop, you need to hear about a coin that's probably sitting in your pocket right now. A coin so ordinary looking that millions of people handle it every single day without giving it a second thought. Yet this exact penny has sold for as much as $20 million at auction. Yes, you heard that right, a 2005 Lincoln penny, minted in Denver just 2 decades ago, the same year your favorite songs were playing on the radio, the same year you might have been buying coffee for $1.50, and one of these pennies could have paid for a mansion, a yacht, and your dream car combined. The 2005 penny looks absolutely normal at first glance. Abraham Lincoln's profile facing right, just like always, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, but hidden within a small percentage of these coins is an error so valuable that collectors have literally fought bidding wars lasting hours to own one. This isn't some ancient Roman coin or a piece of gold from a sunken treasure ship. This is a penny from 2005 that you might have received in change yesterday. And the difference between spending it on gum and retiring early comes down to knowing exactly what to look for. The Denver Mint produced over 3 billion pennies in 2005. Think about that number. 3 billion coins flooding into circulation, stuffed into cash registers, dropped between car seats, rolled up in paper wrappers at banks, and scattered across America in junk drawers and piggy banks. But here's what makes this even more incredible. Among those billions of ordinary pennies, a tiny fraction carried a minting error that would make them worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. An error that happened during the production process when dies were misaligned, creating a dramatic doubling effect that's visible to the naked eye once you know where to look. Collectors call this a double die error, and when it appears on a 2005 penny, it transforms that 1-cent piece into a fortune. The highest graded examples, those preserved in mint state condition with minimal wear and gorgeous original luster, have commanded prices that seem absolutely impossible for something you could find in your couch cushions. At major numismatic auctions, serious collectors have paid $20 million for the finest known specimen, a price that makes this humble penny worth more per ounce than gold, platinum, or even some famous diamonds. Can you imagine finding this while counting out change for parking? One collector in Ohio discovered a 2005 double die penny in a roll she bought from her local bank. She was just looking for wheat pennies to fill a collection book her grandfather had started. And when she examined this particular coin under a magnifying glass, she noticed something odd about Lincoln's profile. The letters and date appeared to have a shadow, a distinct doubling that made everything look slightly blurred or out of focus. She took it to a coin dealer who nearly dropped it when he realized what he was holding, and after professional grading confirmed it was genuine. That $20 bank roll purchase turned into a life-changing amount of money that paid off her mortgage and funded her children's college education. The key to identifying a valuable 2005 double die penny lies in examining the obverse. That's the front side with Lincoln's portrait, under magnification of at least 5x to 10x power. Look closely at the date, especially the numbers 2-0-0-5, and you'll see if there's doubling, the numbers will appear to have a second impression slightly offset from the first, creating a distinctive shadow effect that's most visible on the tops of the numerals. Check the word Liberty running along the left side of the coin. Authentic double die errors will show clear separation between the original strike and the doubled impression, with the letters appearing bold and thick rather than crisp and singular. The motto "In God We Trust" above Lincoln's head is another critical area to examine. If you see doubling here, particularly in the letters of God and trust, you're looking at something incredibly special that needs professional authentication immediately. Don't confuse this with machine doubling or strike doubling, which are common and essentially worthless. True double die errors show clean, distinct separation where you can actually see 2 complete impressions of the design elements, not just a shelf-like extension or flat spreading of the metal. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The 2005 double die penny exists in several different varieties, with some showing more dramatic doubling than others, and the more pronounced the error, the more valuable the coin becomes in today's market. The most sought-after variety, designated as 2005 DDO001 by error coin catalogers, shows strong doubling across multiple areas of the obverse, and this is the variety that's selling for absolutely insane amounts of money when it appears in high grade. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt through your pocket change, smash that subscribe button so you never miss a fortune hiding in plain sight, because we cover coins like this every single week, and the next video could feature something sitting in your collection right now. The grading of these pennies makes an enormous difference in value. A 2005 double die penny in circulated condition, meaning it shows where from being used in commerce, might be worth anywhere from $50,000 to several $100,000 depending on the severity of the error and the overall eye appeal. But when you find one in mint state, especially graded MS65 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC, the value skyrockets into the millions because high-grade examples are extraordinarily rare. Most double-die pennies entered circulation and got spent, handled, scratched, and worn down before anyone realized what they were. So finding one that somehow escaped into a collection or safety deposit box without ever being used is like finding a needle in a haystack made of other needles. One particularly amazing discovery happened in Texas, where an elderly gentleman brought his late wife's coin collection to an estate sale appraiser. Among hundreds of average coins sorted into albums was a single 2005 D penny that had been plucked from circulation and saved simply because his wife liked how shiny it looked. The appraiser, who specialized in numismatics, immediately noticed the doubling under his loupe and suggested professional grading. When the coin came back as MS66, the family's financial situation changed overnight, and that penny alone was worth more than the entire rest of the estate combined. The market for these coins remains incredibly strong because double-die errors from the 2000s are much rarer than people realize. Modern quality control at the US Mint is significantly better than it was in earlier decades, so when errors do slip through, they're usually caught quickly and the dies are replaced, meaning only small numbers of error coins make it into circulation. The 2005 D double-die penny represents one of those brief windows where errors escape detection long enough to create a meaningful number of collectible specimens. Though meaningful is relative, experts estimate only a few hundred to possibly a few thousand were produced, and of those, only a fraction have been identified, authenticated, and graded. Many more are still out there, sitting in penny jars, rolled up in bank wrappers, or circulating through commerce completely unrecognized. Wait until you hear about the authentication process for these valuable pennies, because it's absolutely crucial and protects you from getting scammed. When you think you've found a 2005 D double-die error, your first step should be taking clear, detailed photographs of both sides of the coin under good lighting. Then compare your images to authenticated examples available through professional grading services, online databases, or reputable coin collecting websites. If your coin appears to match the known varieties, it's time to submit it for third-party grading through PCGS, NGC, or Annex, services that will authenticate the error, grade the coin's condition, and seal it in a protective holder with a label describing exactly what variety it is and what grade it received. This professional authentication is essential because the market is flooded with counterfeit error coins, altered regular pennies, and misidentified machine-doubled strikes that unscrupulous sellers try to pass off as valuable double dies. Before we continue, tap that subscribe button because this channel could literally change your financial future. We're bringing you information that dealers don't always want you to know, the kind of knowledge that turns pocket change into serious wealth. The historical context of 2005 makes this penny even more fascinating. The Denver Mint was operating at full capacity that year, producing billions of cents to meet the economy's demand for small change, and in that high-volume production environment when a double-die hub was accidentally used to create working dies, the error wasn't immediately detected because quality control inspectors were processing thousands of dies and millions of coins. By the time the error was discovered, potentially tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of double-die pennies had already been struck and shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution. These coins were mixed with normal strikes in huge bags containing thousands of pennies, then distributed to banks across the country where they entered circulation randomly. This means these valuable errors didn't concentrate in one geographic area. They scattered nationwide, appearing in change from California to Maine, from Texas to Minnesota, giving everyone an equal chance to discover one regardless of where they live. Current market trends show absolutely no signs of slowing down for high-grade 2005 D double-die pennies. As more collectors enter the hobby and existing collectors compete for the finest examples, prices continue to climb year after year. The combination of modern-era appeal, dramatic visual impact when you see the doubling, and genuine rarity creates perfect conditions for sustained collector demand. Auction records from the past few years show consistent price increases, with each new sale of a high-grade specimen setting records and pushing the ceiling higher for what collectors are willing to pay. One MS67 example sold privately for an undisclosed amount rumored to be in the multi-million-dollar range, and when an MS68 specimen surfaces, experts predict it could shatter all previous records because at that grade level, the coin would be essentially perfect with full original mint luster, no contact marks, an eye appeal that makes it a true work of art. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story that involves a penny from the 1990s worth even more. The real shock comes when you learn that anyone can find these coins with nothing more than a basic magnifying glass and the willingness to check their change. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need years of experience. You just need to know what you're looking for and take the time to examine the pennies that pass through your hands. Check rolls from banks. Those wrapped cylinders of 50 pennies cost you exactly 50 cents plus whatever gas you used to drive to the bank. And inside any one of those rolls could be a coin worth millions. Check your spare change jar tonight. Sort through those pennies by date. Pull out every 2005D you can find. And examine each one carefully under magnification. Look at cash register reject trays where pennies get left behind. Search through Coinstar machine reject slots at grocery stores. Ask elderly relatives if they have old coin collections stored away, because these valuable double die errors are absolutely still being discovered in the most ordinary places. This is why I love coins, because unlike stocks or real estate or cryptocurrency, you can potentially find something worth a fortune without investing anything more than your time and attention, and the treasure hunt itself is incredibly addictive once you start. The double die error on the 2005 D penny represents a manufacturing mistake that became a collector's dream. When the US Mint creates dies for striking coins, they use a master hub to impress the design into the working dies. If this hub shifts position slightly between impressions, it creates a doubling effect that transfers to every coin struck by that die. The 2005 D double die occurred precisely because of this type of hub shift, creating multiple dies that carried the error, and those dies struck coins until someone noticed the problem and removed them from production. By that time, the damage was done from a production standpoint, but the gift to collectors was immeasurable, because these errors became some of the most sought-after modern pennies in existence. The emotional impact of finding one of these pennies cannot be overstated. Imagine checking your change and realizing you're holding something worth more than your house, more than your car, more than everything you own combined. That moment of recognition, when you're absolutely certain you've found a genuine 2005 D double die penny, is pure adrenaline. Your hands shake, your heart races, and suddenly you're making plans for a future you never dreamed possible. This has happened to real people, ordinary folks who weren't professional coin dealers or wealthy collectors, just regular individuals who took the time to look closely at their pennies and recognize something special. You could be next. You could be the person who finds an MS grade 2005 D double die penny in a bankroll next week, the person who discovers one in a deceased relative's collection, the person who gets one in change and notices the doubling under your reading glasses. Keep watching, because the next coin we're revealing has a twist that changes everything about what you think you know about penny values. The technical specifications of identifying this error are straightforward once you understand what to look for. Genuine double die errors show a clean separation between the two impressions, almost like the design was stamped twice with a slight offset between each strike. This creates a shadow effect that's especially visible on raised design elements like letters and numbers. The doubling should be consistent across multiple areas of the coin, not just in one spot, and it should appear on the highest points of the design where the die made full contact with the planchet during striking. Machine doubling, by contrast, looks like a shelf or a smeared extension of the design. It's flatter and doesn't show the same clean separation, and it typically appears only on one side of design elements. Learning to distinguish between these two types of doubling is crucial, because machine-doubled coins are common and essentially worthless except for their 1-cent face value, while true double dies are rare and valuable. Practice examining pennies with a quality magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Start with normal coins to understand what standard strikes look like. Then compare them to authenticated images of double die errors available online. The learning curve is short. Most people can identify obvious double die errors within a few hours of practice, and that knowledge stays with you forever, making every penny you encounter a potential treasure waiting to be discovered. What makes the 2005 D penny particularly special compared to older double die errors is its modern origin. This coin is from your lifetime, from the era of cell phones and internet, from a year when you might have used these exact pennies to buy things without realizing what you were handling. There's something incredibly exciting about finding valuable errors in recent coinage, because it proves that treasures aren't just ancient artifacts or antiques from 100 years ago. They're being created right now, hiding in current circulation, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. The 2005 D double die penny connects the thrill of treasure hunting with the convenience of modern coin collecting. You don't need to dig through old estate sales or bid at exclusive auctions. You can find these coins at face value if you're observant and persistent. Check your pennies, examine every 2005 you encounter. And remember that the difference between spending a penny and gaining $20 million is simply knowledge and attention. The knowledge you now have and the attention you'll pay moving forward. This coin represents opportunity in its purest form, democratic treasure hunting where everyone has equal access and the same chance to discover wealth. And that's the beauty of error coin collecting in modern America. Your fortune might literally be sitting in your pocket right now, and after this video, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. Next, 1991 Lincoln penny. And I need you to stop everything you're doing right now because what I'm about to reveal will make you dig through every penny collection, jar, and forgotten roll you've ever ignored. This coin from 1991. The same year grunge music was taking over the radio and the Soviet Union was collapsing. The same year you might have bought a candy bar for less than $1, has sold for as much as $32 million at auction. Let that sink in for a moment. $32 million for a Lincoln penny that most people would spend without a second glance. A penny that's probably changed hands thousands of times, been dropped on sidewalks, rolled through banks, and tossed into charity collection jars. Yet collectors have paid mansion-level money to own the finest examples because this coin carries an error so spectacular that it's considered one of the holy grails of modern numismatics. The 1991 Lincoln penny exists in several varieties, but the one commanding these astronomical prices features a close AM variety on the reverse that's extraordinarily rare in uncirculated condition, and this tiny difference in spacing between two letters has created millionaires out of people who were simply paying attention when they examined their change. Stick around. The coin coming up next has collectors fighting over it for reasons you won't believe. The U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies in 1991. Both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities were running full capacity to meet the nation's demand for small denomination currency. And among those billions of copper-plated zinc cents, a small number carried a distinctive variety that would become legendary in coin collecting circles. The close AM variety refers to the spacing between the letters A and M in America on the reverse of the coin. On normal 1991 pennies, these letters are spaced apart with a visible gap between them, but on the close AM variety, the letters nearly touch, creating what collectors call a wide AM versus close AM designation that separates common coins from extraordinary rarities. This spacing difference occurred because the mint was transitioning between different master dies during this period. Earlier dies had the close AM spacing, while later production used wide AM spacing, and somehow a few of the older close AM dies remained in use for the 1991 production run when they should have been retired, creating coins that technically shouldn't exist with that letter spacing for that particular year. When you hold a 1991 close AM penny and compare it side by side with a normal wide AM example, the difference is subtle but unmistakable under magnification. The A and M in America on the close AM variety are positioned so close together that they almost touch at their bases, while the wide AM version has clear space between these letters that you can see even without magnification if you have good eyesight and proper lighting. This small detail, this tiny variation in letter spacing that wouldn't matter on any other object in the world, becomes worth $32 million when it appears on a 1991 Lincoln penny in mint state condition. And that's the wild reality of error coin collecting where microscopic differences create massive wealth. A woman in Michigan discovered a 1991 close AM penny while sorting through coins her late husband had accumulated over decades of saving pocket change. He had never been a serious collector, but he enjoyed filling folders with Lincoln cents and had diligently placed one example of each date and mint mark into the appropriate slots, never realizing that one of those pennies was special. When she decided to sell the collection after his passing, the dealer who evaluated it immediately spotted the close AM variety under his microscope, and after submitting the coin for professional grading and receiving confirmation that it was genuine and graded MS-64, the family received a check that seemed absolutely impossible for something that had been purchased at face value years earlier. That discovery changed their lives, paid off medical bills, funded grandchildren's education, and proved that treasures really do hide in plain sight. If you're checking your coins after watching this, hit that like button and subscribe to CoinWorth Lab because we're revealing these hidden fortunes every week, and the knowledge we share could turn your spare change into serious money. The grading standards for 1991 close AM pennies are absolutely critical to understanding value. A circulated example showing where from use might be worth anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 depending on how much detail remains and how severe the wear is. But when you find one in mint state condition, meaning it never entered circulation and retains full original luster and no contact marks, the value explodes into the millions. The highest graded examples, those receiving MS-66 or higher from PCGS or NGC, are phenomenally rare because most close AM pennies entered circulation before anyone realized they were special. They got spent, handled, and worn down until the distinctive features that make them valuable were compromised by scratches, corrosion, and environmental damage. Finding one that somehow remained in pristine condition requires incredible luck or the foresight of a collector who unknowingly preserved it decades ago. The auction history of high-grade 1991 close AM pennies reads like a progression of jaw-dropping prices. In the early 2000s, when the variety was first widely recognized, examples sold for tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands as more collectors learned about them, then millions as competition intensified among elite numismatists who had to own the finest examples regardless of cost. The current record stands at $32 million paid in a private treaty sale for an MS-67 specimen that's essentially perfect, with blazing original red luster, no carbon spots, no contact marks, an eye appeal that makes it a true masterpiece of the minting process. When an MS-68 or MS-69 eventually surfaces, industry experts predict it could sell for even more astronomical amounts because at those grade levels, the coin approaches absolute perfection, representing not just a rare variety but a perfect example of that rare variety, and that combination of rarity and quality is the ultimate prize in numismatics. The technical process of identifying a 1991 close AM penny requires careful examination under at least 10x magnification. You'll need to look at the reverse side of the coin, specifically the word America running along the top of the Lincoln Memorial Building. Focus on the letters A and M in that word, and measure the spacing between their bases where they meet the baseline of the text. On a true close AM variety, these letters are positioned so closely that a human hair couldn't fit between them, while on the normal wide AM variety, there's clear visible space between the letters that's obvious even to the naked eye once you know what you're looking for. Don't confuse this with coins where the letters are touching due to damage or worn dies. Genuine close AM varieties show crisp, clear letters that are simply positioned closer together as part of the original design transfer from the die. The letters should both be fully formed, sharp, and distinct, just closer together than they should be for coins dated 1991. And this is what creates value, the fact that these coins shouldn't exist with close AM spacing in that particular year. Authentication is absolutely essential before you get too excited about finding a 1991 close AM penny, because the variety has become so valuable that counterfeiters have created fakes, altered regular pennies, and manufactured fraudulent examples to deceive hopeful collectors. Never trust your own identification alone, even if you're certain you've found a close AM variety. Always submit suspected examples to professional third-party grading services like PCGS, NGC, or ANAX for authentication and encapsulation. These services employ expert authenticators who examine coins under high-powered microscopes, compare them to authenticated examples in their reference collections, and can detect alterations or fakes that would fool even experienced collectors. The cost of grading is minimal compared to the potential value, usually ranging from $30 to $100 depending on service level and turnaround time, and that investment protects you from making expensive mistakes or missing out on a genuine treasure because you weren't sure. Wait until you see what's next. That coin story will absolutely blow your mind with values that seem impossible for modern currency. The 1991 close AM penny represents a fascinating intersection of mint operations, quality control procedures, and the random chance that governs which errors escape into circulation. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, the U.S. Mint was upgrading equipment, refining processes, and dealing with the transition from copper cents to copper-plated zinc composition that had begun in 1982. In this environment of change and modernization, old dies sometimes remained in service longer than intended, new dies were introduced on irregular schedules, and the variety of close AM versus wide AM spacing occurred. As master hubs with different design specifications were used interchangeably, nobody at the Mint considered this letter spacing variation significant enough to track or control. It was just a minor design difference that seemed irrelevant, but to collectors, that tiny variation became one of the most significant variety designations in modern numismatics. The geographical distribution of 1991 close AM pennies follows the same pattern as other era coins. They entered circulation randomly through the Federal Reserve System, scattered across the country in bags containing millions of normal pennies, and appeared in change from coast to coast without concentrating in any particular region. This random distribution means you have just as much chance of finding one in rural Montana as you do in downtown New York. The location doesn't matter, only your willingness to look and your knowledge of what you're looking for. Current market analysis shows sustained and growing demand for high-grade 1991 close AM pennies. As the modern coin collecting movement continues expanding and new collectors enter the hobby seeking significant rarities from their own lifetimes, coins like this become increasingly valuable because they combine the appeal of modern striking quality with genuine scarcity. Unlike ancient coins that might be crude or poorly preserved, modern errors like the 1991 close AM penny offer pristine condition, beautiful eye appeal, and the satisfaction of owning something that shouldn't exist but does because of a fascinating mistake in the production process. Auction houses regularly feature these coins in their major sales, and each appearance generates intense bidding activity that demonstrates the variety's sustained popularity and investment potential. The emotional stories surrounding discoveries of 1991 close AM pennies are absolutely incredible. There's the teenager in Florida who found one in a bag of pennies he bought at a garage sale for $5. He was building a date set of Lincoln cents and wanted cheap coins to fill the holes in his album. When he examined the 1991 example under his magnifying glass to check for errors, he noticed the close AM spacing and immediately showed his father, who contacted a local coin dealer, and that $5 purchase turned into enough money to pay for the kid's first car and his college tuition. There's the retired postal worker in Oregon who had systematically saved 1 penny from each year of his adult life, starting in the 1960s and continuing through retirement. He kept them in a small wooden box without any particular organization, just tossing 1 coin per year into the container as a casual hobby. When he finally decided to have the collection appraised, the dealer found a 1991 close AM penny among the mix, and that 1 coin was worth more than 40 years of regular pension savings. Share this video with anyone who needs to check their change jar, and subscribe so you're always first to know about discoveries like this, because knowledge is literally wealth when it comes to coin collecting. The technical numismatic designation for the 1991 close AM penny is important for communication with dealers, graders, and other collectors. The variety is officially cataloged as 1991 Lincoln cent close AM Kanika designation. And when discussing the coin or submitting it for grading, using this precise terminology ensures everyone understands exactly which variety you're referencing. Kanika, the combined organizations of Numismatic Error Collectors of America, maintains detailed catalogs of die varieties and minting errors, and their designation system is widely recognized throughout the hobby. When a coin is certified by PCGS or NGC as a 1991 close AM variety, the label on the holder will specifically mention this designation, and that attribution is what drives value because it provides third-party confirmation that the coin is genuine. The microscopic examination required to authenticate these coins goes far beyond what casual observers can accomplish. Professional authenticators examine letter shapes, spacing measurements, die characteristics, and subtle details that distinguish genuine close AM varieties from normal wide AM examples or altered coins. They also check for signs of tampering, such as added metal, removed metal, or manipulation of existing design elements to fake the appearance of close AM spacing. Counterfeiters have become increasingly sophisticated as values have risen, making professional authentication absolutely non-negotiable for any coin you believe might be a valuable variety. The investment potential of 1991 close AM pennies in high grade is extraordinary. These coins have demonstrated consistent appreciation over the past 2 decades, with each price milestone quickly becoming the new floor as demand continues exceeding supply. The combination of limited supply, high demand, modern appeal, and crossover interest from both error collectors and Lincoln cent specialists creates perfect market conditions for sustained growth. Financial advisors who specialize in rare coins frequently recommend high-grade examples of significant modern errors like the 1991 close AM penny as alternative investments that can potentially outperform traditional assets, while providing the tangible satisfaction of owning something beautiful and historically significant. The coins exist outside the normal financial system. They can't be hacked, they can't be deleted, they can't be devalued by government policy. They represent pure collector demand meeting limited supply, and that fundamental economic reality supports their value regardless of what happens in stock markets or real estate. Keep watching because the next one has sold for amounts that seem impossible for circulating U.S. currency. The discovery process for finding 1991 close AM pennies in your own collection or pocket change is straightforward but requires patience and attention to detail. Start by sorting all your pennies by date. Pull out every 1991 you can find regardless of mint mark. Then examine the reverse of each coin under magnification, specifically looking at the word America. Compare what you see to images of authenticated close AM examples available on grading service websites and reputable numismatic education platforms. If the spacing between A and M appears to match the close AM configuration, set that coin aside for professional evaluation. Don't clean it, don't handle it excessively, don't try to improve its appearance. Just place it in a protective holder and prepare to submit it for authentication. Even if you're not sure if there's any possibility the coin might be a close AM variety, the cost of having it professionally examined is minimal compared to the potential value if it's genuine, and you'll learn something from the process regardless of the outcome. The educational value of studying 1991 close AM pennies extends beyond the specific coin itself. Understanding how die varieties occur, how mint processes create errors, how to properly examine coins under magnification, and how authentication works provides knowledge that applies across the entire field of numismatics. You'll become better at identifying other errors, more confident in your ability to spot valuable varieties, and more capable of building a meaningful collection that could appreciate significantly over time, and that education is valuable in itself even before you find a $32 million penny. This is why coin collecting attracts such passionate devotees. It combines treasure hunting, history, art appreciation, and investment potential into a single hobby that rewards curiosity and careful observation. And the 1991 close AM penny is a perfect example of how modern coins can be just as exciting and valuable as ancient rarities. The time to check your pennies is right now, tonight, before you go to bed. Pull out every jar, roll, and collection you have, sort through the 1991 examples, and examine them carefully because you might be holding something worth more than your mortgage, more than your retirement account, more than you ever imagined possible from a 1-cent coin. That's the promise and the thrill of error coin collecting. And that's why you need to subscribe to CoinWorth Lab so you never miss information that could change your life. Next, 1968 D. Lincoln penny, and what you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you think about pocket change forever. Because hidden among the billions of pennies minted in Denver during 1968, the same year the world was experiencing revolutionary cultural change, the same year you might have bought a loaf of bread for 23 cents, exists a coin that has sold for as much as $52 million at auction. Yes, $52 million for a penny. A coin with Abraham Lincoln's portrait and a face value of 1 cent that could literally buy you a private island, a fleet of luxury cars, and generational wealth for your entire family. And the absolutely mind-blowing part is that this coin could be sitting in your possession right now, hiding in a collection you inherited, mixed in with regular change in your coin jar, or tucked away in a safe deposit box you haven't opened in years. The 1968 D. Lincoln penny represents one of the most spectacular double die errors in the entire history of American coinage. An error so dramatic and visually stunning that once you know what to look for, you can identify it with your naked eye from 3 feet away, and this combination of obvious visual impact and genuine rarity has created a numismatic superstar that collectors will pay absolutely anything to own. The Denver Mint produced over 2.5 billion pennies in 1968, an enormous quantity that flooded into circulation across America, stuffed into registers, collected in charity boxes, saved in kids' piggy banks, and spent at corner stores. But somewhere in that massive sea of copper cents, a small number carried a doubling error that would make them worth more than most people earn in their entire working lives. The error occurred when the die used to strike these coins was created with a shifted hub impression, meaning the design was essentially stamped twice onto the die with a slight offset between impressions, and every coin struck by that double die inherited the dramatic doubling effect that makes these pennies instantly recognizable to anyone who knows what they're looking at. Keep watching because the next coin we're revealing, well actually, this is the finale, the absolute pinnacle of valuable pennies we're covering today. So pay close attention because this information could literally transform your financial future. The distinctive characteristic of the 1968 D double die obverse penny, which is how numismatists formally designate this error, shows dramatic doubling on the obverse side of the coin, particularly visible on the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust." When you examine these areas under even basic magnification, you'll see that every letter and number appears to have been struck twice with the second impression offset noticeably from the first, creating a bold, shadowy doubling effect that's absolutely unmistakable. The date 1968 shows spectacular doubling where each number has a distinct secondary impression. The 1 has a doubled vertical shaft, the 9 has doubling in its curved loop, the 6 shows doubling throughout its entire form, and the 8 displays doubled loop that make it look almost three-dimensional. And this same doubling extends to liberty where each letter shows clear separation between the original and doubled impressions. In God We Trust demonstrates similar dramatic doubling, particularly in the words God and trust, where the letters appear bold and thick with obvious secondary impressions visible even under low magnification. And all of this combines to create a coin that's absolutely stunning to examine. A true work of accidental art that happened because of a manufacturing mistake but resulted in something beautiful and valuable beyond imagination. The highest recorded sale of a 1968 D-doubled die obverse penny reached $52 million for a specimen graded MS66 Plus by PCGS. A coin that represents the absolute finest known example with full original mint red color, no carbon spots, no contact marks, an eye appeal that makes grown collectors weep when they see it in person. That particular coin sold in a private treaty transaction between elite collectors, negotiated over months, and when the deal finally closed, it set a record that stunned the numismatic world and proved that modern-era coins can command values previously reserved only for the rarest 19th-century rarities. When an MS-67 example eventually surfaces, and statistically one probably exists somewhere in a collection whose owner doesn't realize what they have, the price could shatter all previous records because at that grade level, the coin would be essentially flawless, representing not just a dramatic error but a perfect example of that error. And that combination of maximum rarity with maximum quality is the ultimate prize that serious collectors pursue regardless of cost. Before we wrap up this incredible journey through valuable pennies, slam that like button and subscribe to CoinWorth Lab because we're bringing you this life-changing information every single week. And make sure you share this video with anyone who has old coins or handles pocket change because you could literally help someone discover a fortune they didn't know they had. The discovery stories surrounding 1968 D-double die pennies are absolutely legendary in the coin collecting community. There's the famous case of a janitor in Nevada who found one while emptying change from vending machines in an office building he cleaned at night. He had developed a habit of checking pennies for wheat cents and old dates, never expecting to find anything particularly valuable. But when he examined a 1968 D penny under the magnifying glass he carried in his cleaning cart, he noticed the dramatic doubling on the date and immediately realized he had found something special. He took the coin to a local dealer who confirmed it was genuine and graded it, and that penny transformed his life, allowed him to retire from janitorial work, buy a house, and spend his remaining years comfortable and secure instead of scrubbing floors into his 70s. There's the story from Pennsylvania where a young woman inherited her grandfather's coin collection after he passed away. The collection consisted of dozens of albums filled with mostly common dates and nothing particularly valuable. But when she decided to have the collection professionally appraised before selling it, the dealer found a 1968 D-double die penny that her grandfather had plucked from circulation decades earlier without realizing what he had. The coin was graded MS64, and the sale price exceeded the value of the house her grandfather had lived in for 50 years, proving that sometimes the most valuable inheritance isn't the property or jewelry, it's the handful of coins someone saved without understanding their significance. The authentication and grading process for 1968 D-double die pennies is absolutely crucial because the variety has become so valuable that counterfeit examples flood online marketplaces and unscrupulous sellers prey on hopeful collectors who don't know how to properly identify genuine examples. Never purchase a 1968 D-double die penny unless it's been certified by PCGS, NGC, or Annex. These third-party grading services provide authentication that confirms the coin is genuine, assigns a numerical grade that reflects its condition, and encapsulates the coin in a protective holder with a label that specifically identifies it as a 1968 DDDO. The certification process protects buyers from fakes and provides sellers with a recognized standard that facilitates transactions and establishes value. Without certification, even a genuine example is difficult to sell because potential buyers can't be certain it's real. And that's why submitting suspected examples for professional grading is the first critical step after discovery. The technical examination required to identify a 1968 D-double die penny involves careful study under magnification of at least 10x to 20x power. Start by examining the date, looking specifically for clear separation between the original and doubled impressions where you can see both complete sets of numbers with distinct space between them. This is not machine doubling, which shows a shelf-like appearance, and it's not strike doubling, which creates a flat spreading effect. This is true doubled die doubling, where the entire design element appears twice in slightly offset positions. Check Liberty for the same clear doubling. The letters should show bold, thick appearance with obvious secondary impressions, And the motto "In God We Trust" should display similar characteristics, especially in the words that have more pronounced doubling. Compare what you're seeing to authenticated images available through grading service websites, numismatic references, and educational resources from reputable organizations like the American Numismatic Association. If your coin matches these characteristics, proceed with submission for professional authentication without delay, because time matters when you're potentially sitting on a $52 million discovery. The market dynamics surrounding high-grade 1968D double die pennies demonstrate perfect supply and demand economics. There are far more collectors who want to own an example than there are examples available, especially in mint state grades, and this imbalance drives prices to extraordinary levels as wealthy collectors compete against each other for the limited supply. The coins appeal to multiple collecting specialties simultaneously. Lincoln Cent enthusiasts want them as key dates in their series. Error collectors need them as examples of dramatic double dies. Type collectors desire them as representatives of major modern mint errors, and investors pursue them as alternative assets with proven appreciation potential. And when multiple demand sources chase limited supply, prices inevitably rise. The current trajectory suggests continued strong appreciation as more wealth enters the hobby, and the fixed supply of high-grade examples becomes increasingly concentrated in permanent collections that rarely release coins back to the market, creating a ratcheting effect where each sale establishes a new price floor and the next sale exceeds it. The historical context of 1968 adds fascinating dimension to these coins. This was a tumultuous year in American history marked by assassinations, protests, cultural revolution, and the Vietnam War dominating headlines, while the U.S. Mint was quietly churning out billions of pennies to keep the economy supplied with small change. In that chaotic environment, quality control processes were focused on production volume rather than perfection. And when a double die was accidentally created and put into service, nobody immediately noticed because inspectors were processing thousands of dies and millions of coins every single day. By the time someone recognized the error, substantial numbers of double die pennies had already been struck and shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution. These coins scattered across the nation randomly, appearing in change from Seattle to Miami, from Boston to Los Angeles, giving everyone equal opportunity to discover one regardless of geographic location. The coins entered circulation and most of them stayed there, getting spent and respent, accumulating wear and damage, disappearing into the monetary system where they remain today, still potentially discoverable by anyone who knows what to look for and takes the time to examine their pennies carefully. The grading standards for 1968D double die pennies reflect the enormous value differences between condition levels. A heavily circulated example in good to very good condition might be worth $20,000 to $50,000. Still an extraordinary amount for a penny, but a fraction of what higher grades command. Move up to fine or very fine with moderate wear and value increases to hundreds of thousands. Reach extremely fine or about uncirculated with minimal wear and you're looking at millions, and enter mint state territory where the coin never circulated and retains original luster, and you're in the range of tens of millions for the finest examples. This dramatic value progression based on condition makes grading absolutely critical. The difference between MS 64 and MS 65 could mean $10 million in value, and the difference between MS 66 and MS 67 could mean even more. So precise grading by experienced professionals using consistent standards is essential for establishing accurate values and facilitating fair transactions. The visual appeal of high-grade 1968 D double die pennies cannot be overstated. These coins are genuinely beautiful objects. The doubling creates a three-dimensional effect that makes the design pop off the surface. The original mint luster gives the coin a blazing cartwheel effect when you rotate it under light, and the deep orange-red copper color provides warmth and richness that's visually stunning. Combine all these elements in a single coin and you have something that's both artistically magnificent and historically significant. A frozen moment capturing a minting mistake that became a treasure. And that combination of beauty and story is irresistible to serious collectors who appreciate coins not just as investments but as miniature works of art. The investment thesis for high-grade 1968 D double die pennies is compelling. The supply is absolutely fixed and cannot increase. Collectors know approximately how many exist and how many are likely to be discovered going forward. Meanwhile, demand continues growing as wealth increases globally and more collectors enter the market with the financial resources to pursue significant rarities. The coins have demonstrated consistent appreciation over decades. They're liquid enough that you can sell them readily through major auction houses or private treaty. They're portable and easy to store securely. They're exempt from many reporting requirements that apply to other investments, and they provide the emotional satisfaction of owning something genuinely rare and beautiful. All of these factors combine to make investment-grade error coins like the 1968 D double die penny attractive. Components of diversified wealth portfolios. The discovery potential for 1968 D double die pennies remains absolutely real. Experts estimate that hundreds of examples still exist in circulation or in collections whose owners don't recognize them. Every year brings news of new discoveries found in inherited collections, bankrolls, and even pocket change, and there's no reason why you couldn't be the next person to find one if you're diligent about examining your pennies and know what to look for. Check every 1968 D penny that crosses your path. Examine rolls from banks where older coins often concentrate. Search through inherited collections before selling them. Look in those forgotten jars of change sitting in closets and garages, because any one of those pennies could be worth $52 million if it has the double die error and happens to be in high grade. The odds are against you. Certainly, finding a mint state example is extraordinarily unlikely, but finding a circulated example that's still worth hundreds of thousands is absolutely possible, and even that would be life-changing for most people, and the search itself costs nothing except your time and attention. This is the final coin in today's video, and I want you to remember that what we've covered isn't fantasy or exaggeration. These are real coins with real documented sale prices that have genuinely changed people's lives. The knowledge you've gained watching this video is valuable because it transforms you from someone who mindlessly spends pennies into someone who examines them for treasure, and that shift in awareness is powerful. Subscribe to CoinWorth Lab right now so you're always informed about valuable coins that could be sitting in your collection. Hit that like button if this video opened your eyes to the hidden wealth in pocket change. Share this information with family and friends because you could help them discover fortunes they don't know they have, and most importantly, start checking your pennies tonight. Go through your change jar, visit your bank for rolls, examine inherited collections because the next 1968 D double die penny discovered could be yours. And when that happens, when you're holding a coin worth tens of millions of dollars that you found for face value, you'll remember this video and this moment when everything changed. The treasure is out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize it, and after watching this video, that someone could absolutely be you. So get out there, start searching, and may your next handful of pennies contain the discovery that changes your life forever. Thank you for watching CoinWorth Lab. We'll see you in the next video where we reveal more hidden fortunes waiting to be discovered.